It's amazing how much content we consume in this small rectangle. It's not even been around for that long, and yet for most of you, it's been around for a lifetime. In 1876, the first phone was created. 1925 established the existence of the rotary phone. With innovation propelling ahead, in 1960, we discovered the car phone. In 1996, the flip phone became a standard. And in 2007, the iPhone was created. With technology consistently advancing, we find ourselves in a new era of communication. It's amazing how easily connected we are with each other. At a tap of a button, we can communicate. At a swipe gesture, we can find the coolest and latest things. At a single command, we can be transported to a whole new world. With the rise of social media, we have more information than ever before. It's amazing how much we have at our fingertips. And it's amazing how lonely we have actually become. So, with that punch, let's address this. Since the evolution of technology, specifically smartphones and social media, it's amazing how controlling these rectangles can be. It's amazing how much we fear within the contents of this rectangle. Do I see this? In the last 3 weeks of this series, we have addressed very difficult conversations. Everything in this series has stemmed from fear. Week 1, we talked about anger and hatred. We fear not being heard. In week 2, we talked about politics. We concluded that we fear for loss. And last week, we talked about current events, specifically how we need to surrender and obey, as illustrated in Luke 5. This week, we're tackling the fear of missing out, or worse, the fear of being forgotten through the streams of social media. So here is the cool thing. In fact, this series has been a series of brand new things I've never done before. And this week is no different. Tonight, I'm going to be preaching from your personal cell phone. That's right. For the very first time, you will have the opportunity to take the message and find a spot in the church and engage in the sermon alongside with me. Did you bring your headphones? Great if you did. Before I let you go, I wanted to lay down some expectations. This was designed for you. We want you to be able to experience this message in a very unique and personal way. Here are a few expectations that will help you enhance your experience. For safety and security, please don't go past these metal doors. Stay within the south side of the church. You have an entire gym, south cafe area, and even the hallways to hang out in. Avoid breakout room classrooms, but more on that later. And stay away from outside. It's cold outside, come on. And don't be that individual that says, I'm going to listen to the sermon in the bathroom. That's weird and awkward. Don't do that. Just stay away from the bathrooms. Plus, you're gonna sit in the bathroom for over 15 minutes? Gross. Because this was designed for you, please avoid watching this with a group of people. The temptation is to share the smartphone with a friend. Don't. In fact, I'm asking you to watch this on your own, away from other people. Find a spot where you can engage with the message. And finally, be engaged. This time was created for you. You've been provided notes. Take those notes. Write down in those notes. you have the unique opportunity to pause the sermon to write down your own thoughts. All right, here it is. On the screen is a QR code. All you have to do is open up your camera app, hover the camera over the QR code, and click on the link above. And for those that don't have a smartphone or would feel more comfortable watching it with a group of people, we have provided the video to autoplay here in the youth center in 2 minutes. All you have to do is wait for the video to start. Everyone cool? Great. I actually can't see if there's any problems, so if there are, talk to an adult leader. I'm sure they can help. I'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Stream starting soon. Stream starting soon.
Stream starting soon.
Stream starting soon.
Four, three, two, one.
Real talk. Maybe you can relate. People are awful on social media. We say the meanest things to each other. Why? Because it's easy when we're not face to face. Do you agree with that? Well, how about this one? People are loud on social media. Bird watching is the best sport in the world, period. As if all caps didn't exemplify the individual's voice, but the posture continues to be loud online. Oh, what about this one? Maybe you can relate with me. Information is so much easier to find, but because information is so easy to find, it's hard to actually find real truth. Do you follow me on that? If we could dive even further with this real talk, how much have we enabled this? We, in this context, you and me, how much have we enabled this by the things that we follow, the things that we prioritize our time with, the things we choose to post and repost? Think about it. Just in the past week alone, how guilty are we in this? I know I am. Of course, as always, as we navigate through this difficult series, we feel the need to give you a disclaimer. All research statements published by the ministry on the screen pages is for information purposes only. Viewers are encouraged to confirm the information contained herein with other sources, including but not limited to scriptures, interpretation of other traditions, and parallel faith, which may include the discussion of how our faith becomes our hearts, faith, tradition, reason, and experience. Faith is a part of the ministry. Review the information carefully provided parent or guardian. The information is not intended to replace the role of a faith parent or guardian as prescribed by the next pastor. The Western Church and Lutheran ministries will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages that the next pastor especially specified. By using any or all of this information, you do so at your own risk. No time will be returned back to you for watching this video. Any information provided at the viewer's discretion and is his or her sole responsibility. No, not that. The disclaimer that every message we have preached in this series could be its own series. Your leaders are amazing, right? But neither they nor I have all the answers. We must be willing to wrestle with truth. In fact, if you're wrestling with truth right now, this is a perfect place to be. And finally, I feel like I have to add this. This is not a "we hate social media" sermon, so put away your pitchforks. Let's set up 2 John. In fact, if you have a Bible, turn to it. I always like it when you have a physical Bible. And trust me, it is always okay to look at the table of contents to find where 2 John is, especially today. Literally no one's watching you. 2 John is found in the later half of the New Testament. And if you have one of our blue NLT Bibles from the Youth Center, wow! It's on page 746. Trust me, this might be hard to find. Why? Because this is the shortest book in the New Testament. It only contains 13 verses. Of those 13 verses, it holds only 298 words. At this point, I've only spoken 1,300 words to you. Thank you, Microsoft Word. The author is the Apostle John, who happens to be one of the 12 original disciples of Jesus. This guy has seen a lot. 2 John is essentially a handwritten letter by the Apostle John to a local church. This letter could fit onto an entire piece of paper. And yet, within this small letter, he tackles 3 big concerns: love, truth, and foundations. It's crazy how something that was written over 2,000 years ago has a bigger impact on us in the social media world than ever before. So let's dive into it. We're skipping ahead to verse 5. 2 John chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, "I'm writing to remind you, dear friends, that we should love one another. This is not a new command, but one we have had from the beginning. Love means doing what God has commanded us. And He's commanded us to love one another, just as you've heard from the beginning." Theme number 1 is exemplified here: love. What is love? Simple concept here. We have heard something like this before. However, this is rarely executed online. Am I wrong? As a Christ follower, we should be compelled to love one another, even when we don't receive that back. And we see example after example of hate being spewed online. And what's worse, our own people who claim to be followers of Christ fail to uphold this commandment. What's even worse? It's our own body we see doing it. Are we okay with that? We cannot simply say we love God and we love others in one statement and the next scream crucify them. We cannot claim to be the light of the world if we choose to reside in darkness. Social media has curated the norm of being hateful, spiteful, angry. Why? Because we fear and not being heard. And if we don't post something, we fear and being forgotten. Go back! This week, we're tackling the fear of missing out, or worse, the fear of being forgotten through the streams of social media. So what lures us into not demonstrating love? If verse 6 says, doing what God has commanded us, and He's commanded us to love one another, what lures us into doing the opposite? Because this command is not a new command. This command is found embedded throughout the scriptures. So what do you think? I have a couple thoughts. First, I see the need to win the arguments. You know what I'm talking about. The private chatting over social media, the public disputes on public forums, posting controversial things only to stir the pot. You do know Survivor's a terrible show, right? How dare you! We find validation, or in this case, false validation, when we post to win the arguments. And if I could be bold, how many of us actually win the argument? How many of us actually see love and growth because of posts like this? Here's another lure. It is so much easier to repost something than it is to wrestle with it. It's become so easy to hit that retweet and share button. Hitting those buttons takes no effort to do, and no requirement to wrestle with the context of the article. We hit that button and said, "Here you go, universe. This is for you." And when we do that, we fail to recognize the complex issues simply cannot be resolved by a simple retweet. Complex issues cannot be resolved because of a title of an article. Aren't we just as guilty on not loving on our neighbors when we don't wrestle with truth? Aren't we just as guilty when we add fuel to the fire of complexity? Have we allowed perceived truth to come superior to our Father's truth? We should be different than that. And we are. We are different because of Christ's love, which should compel us to uphold these commandments. You got notes? Write this down. How we interact with others online is a snapshot of our relationship with Christ. What if we posted what we are for rather than what we are against? What if we used our social media platforms to promote Christ's love rather than personal agendas? What if we redeemed the painful side of social media? True compassion demands action, which leads to our second theme, truth. Follow along with me starting in verse 7. I say this because many deceivers have gone out into the world. They deny that Jesus Christ came into the real body. Such a person is a deceiver and an antichrist. Watch out that you do not lose what we have worked so hard to achieve. Be diligent so that you receive your full reward. Anyone who wanders away from this teaching has no relationship with God, but anyone who remains in the teaching of Christ has a relationship with both the Father and the Son. Here's another moment to write down. If theme number 2 in regards to social media is truth, then what we follow is a reflection of what is closest to our hearts. Every search, comment, celebrity, and following are examples of things that we hold close to our hearts. And oh man, social media has gotten good at knowing the things that are closest to my heart. Too good, actually. Have we accidentally said, I'm a fan of Jesus and his teachings, but I'm a follower of things that are completely against that? What we are following is a reflection of what is closest to our hearts. If I'm going to sound the alarms, we have some serious FOMO here. Fear of missing out. We are more willing to be in the know of everything, compromising our truths that we hold, than risk being forgotten. Has FOMO accidentally pushed us away from our relationship with Christ? Catch this. Our human bodies crave affection. What you follow will lead to what satisfies that affection. Mimicking the lifestyles of the greatest celebrities and YouTube stars may not lead you to a life of fullness. Posting that picture-perfect moment only for the need of affirmation begins to dilute our biblical truths. Allow the biggest celebrities to dictate how we behave is an exchange to what the scriptures hold. We cry out when we don't feel like God doesn't want anything to do with us, or we don't have time to be with him, and yet we spend hours perfecting our new TikTok dance. And side note, it's ridiculous how TikTok dance works. You see people get embarrassed when they're filming it, but are willing to post it for the world to see. It doesn't make sense. When we wrestle with truth, we must evaluate every part of information we're allowing into our hearts, which leads us to our final theme, foundations. Read with me, verse 10. If anyone comes to your meeting and does not teach the truth about Christ, don't invite that person into your home or give any kind of encouragement. Our home has changed in the last 2,000 years. The word home found in this verse can be translated as dwelling place. The dwelling place has evolved. The dwelling place resides in our pocket. Studies have shown how constant we are online. Breaking news! Welcome back to our LSM News Desk. Our top stories, random studies that you won't pay any attention to. Pew Research reports that 95% of teens have access to smartphone, and 45% say that they are online almost constantly. Despite the research facts, what is your dwelling place? Is your dwelling place on firm foundations? What holds our attention builds our foundation. Whatever we give a personal platform to our heart will be the foundation of our mindset. So let me give you an example. To my made-up science TV show kitchen set. Welcome to the Zach, Not the Science Guy show. Today we're going to look at different types of foundations that can be found. Which one's the best? Which one causes disaster? Let's explore! Before we can continue to add more depth to our house, we need to ask the question, are we on firm foundation? Because what we do on social media exemplifies how we behave. If we're called to be people of the Word, we must have a firm foundation, which is found on Christ alone. But when we put our foundation on things we assume validate us, like things that we post, things that we like, things that we follow, or things we do outside of the rectangle cell phone, we begin to corrupt our foothold. We place our house on a foundation that was not built to hold us up. And before you know it, we see our foundation crumble right before our feet. Sad day, as the Apostle John wrote. Watch who you invite into your dwelling place. Because what holds our attention builds our foundation. You had the whole world at your fingertips. And we have the incredible opportunity and responsibility of being examples of Christ's love, protecting truth, and protecting ourselves from false foundations. We literally just dove through an entire book of the Bible. The question is, how will you choose to respond to this? In fact, we will be breaking off into breakout groups soon. In the meantime, which of these three areas are you choosing to tackle personally? On the back of your note card are three words. Circle 1, 2, or all three. But most importantly, I would like you to share with your group. The first step in responding to change is vocalizing it. So share it. Breakout groups were designed to be a safe place to wrestle with tough topics. Head to your specific breakout groups and always remember, His love has always been greater. You were made for greater things. Blessings, everyone.